Hello and welcome. The topic uh, today with Hindu editorial is right to birth. But before the topic and passage, we should look for some important words that are being quoted over here in this passage. The first one is co-parcenary. It refers to a birthright to inherit ancestral property, uh, property belonging to grandfathers, great grandfathers, or even even father after his death. The person who inherits is called co-parcener, and both these terms are frequently used in Hindu succession law. And the next important uh, term is Mitakshara law. Mitakshara law gives mother the right to share ancestral properties in proportions equal to that of sons. But there is something else also in this law, and it says that mother cannot force for partition. So mother will have to keep away from the process of partition, but then she has the right to property, ancestral property, and the proportion shall be equal to that of the sons. Then we have another term, testamentary disposition. This refers to the will. What is there in the will of a person is to be followed as is stated in the will or layout as per will. Then another important word with alternate meaning given in the passage is crystallized. Crystal is a word you already know, something having fixed shape and size. But here in this passage, it refers to something taken as final after the court's verdict and a well settled principle, which doesn't require any further intervention or interpretation. So, this is how some terms have been put in this passage. The topic is right to by birth, birthright. What refers to birthright of a citizen of India? A Supreme Court decision, SC decision on co-parcenary rights of women, is in line with the aim of ending discrimination. Now, discrimination refers to something where women are discriminated out against men while there is distribution of ancestral property. So, whenever inheritance of ancestral property comes up, the women are discriminated. They are not allowed to participate. They are not allowed any share in ancestral property. Now, Supreme Court's decision to this effect has put an end to such discrimination. This is what the subtopic says, and it emphasizes that women also have right by birth to ancestral property. So they also have this birthright along with men. The latest decision of Supreme Court on the right of Hindu daughters to ancestral property, an obvious anomaly in the interpretation of a crucial 2005 amendment to the Hindu Succession Act 1956. So, there was an act, Hindu Succession Act 1956. It was amended in 2005, but it says that the interpretation part to this amendment was anomalous, was not correct, was something wayward away from what it actually carried the meaning. And that has been corrected by the latest decision of Supreme Court, particularly in respect of right to Hindu daughters to ancestral property. So this is the opening sentence. It directly emphasizes the verdict of Supreme Court, which corrects anomalous interpretations to the amendment which was brought in 2005 to Hindu Succession Act. The verdict settles the question whether the co-parcenary right of daughters comes into effect only if the father through whom they claim that right was alive on the day the amendment came into force. Okay, this was the issue. The issue was clear whether daughters have co-parcenary rights along with the sons even before the death of the father from whom they carry this right. So definitely what father has is to be distributed among his sons and daughters and wife. Now can this happen even if, although father is dead now or alive now, can it carry even before the death from the dates before the death of father? So this is the main issue, or this is the part which had anomalous interpretation and which the Supreme Court verdict corrected. So this how the contents get related among themselves, among the sentences. The apex court has now categorically ruled that the daughter's right flows from their birth and not by any other factor such as existence of their fathers. So, one thing that apex court has categorically explained that the right to ancestral property is by birth and not by and is not in any manner dependent on the survival or death of fathers. So it is not that the right I will lose my birth rights over ancestral property if it is connected to the date of death of father. In other words, it has rejected the common misinterpretation that only daughters of co-partners who were alive on that date could get an equal share in property. So it categorically mentioned this is an emphasis. This is how an sentence emphasizes previous sentences. In other words, this is the thing. This is the group of words we often quote while emphasizing or while putting more meanings to the previous content. It has rejected common misinterpretation. There was a common misinterpretation. What was that common misinterpretation? That only daughters of co-partners who were alive on that day could get an equal share in property. So co-partners, these co-partners are fathers of these daughters. Now, fathers of these daughters, if he was alive on the date of amendment, date on which amendment was done, then only daughters will have the right ancestral property on that day. Which day? So this becomes on that day. Which day? The date on which this amendment was passed by the parliament, or amendment was made by the parliament. So, if co-partners were alive on the date of amendment, then only their daughters will have the right to ancestral property. This is what the misinterpretation part was existing, and to which the Supreme Court brought about a new verdict to remove this anomaly. The court has rightly recognized that the amendment conferred equal status as a co-partner on daughters in Hindu families governed by Mitakshara law, and this right accrued by birth. So, Supreme Court was very clear that this right to ancestral property accrued by birth, which is governed by Mitakshara law. Mitakshara law is a law which I have explained earlier at the top of this passage, which governs right to succession in Hindu law. And the court emphasized that the amendment conferred equal status on daughters. Daughters are equally eligible for inheriting ancestral property as the sons are. The change came into effect from September 9, 2005, but with a provision that partitions or testamentary disposition that had taken place prior to December 20, 2004, the date on which amendment bill was introduced in Raj Sabha, will remain valid and unaffected by the change. So there are two things. It says that the change, the amendment came into effect from September 9, 2005. This is one thing. But with a provision. Now this is the second part. But with a provision that partitions or the layout of the wills that had taken place prior to December 20, 2004 will remain valid. Let us skip this part. The portion which is quoted within hyphens, within two hyphens. Let us skip this part and then the meaning could be more clear. The provisions that partitions or testamentary disposition that had taken place prior to 2004 will remain valid. We can skip this also, this clause, that clause. So now it will be more clear. Provisions that partitions or testamentary disposition will remain valid and unaffected by the change. So there will be no change to the wills, the layout of the wills. Which wills? The wills that had taken place prior to December 20, 2004. So this that here we have a pronoun that refers to partitions or testamentary dispositions. Uh, uh, these both are linked to that. So that here links to the nearest thing, nearest noun in this case. But this that can in other instances be placed far away from the noun it is linked with. Now, why December 20, 2004 is being explained within hyphen, the date on which amendment bill was introduced in the Rajya Sabha. So this content within hyphen is explains uh, why the date was of the date of 20 December 20, 2004 was taken as cutoff date. This led to the interpretation that daughters' co-parcenary rights, being prospective, would not come into effect unless both the co-parcener father and his daughter were alive on September 9, 2005. And now this, what is this? This is a pronoun. What does it refer to? This refers to these partitions or testimony disposition, the interpretation related to testamentary disposition, the provision that the provision this refers to the provision, sorry, not the testamentary disposition. This refers to the provision connected to this testamentary disposition which forbade change in the partitions or the will. Now, this provision led to the interpretation that although it was not written, it was something which was derived on the basis of the provision for testamentary disposition. So this speaks that the provisions were not mentioned in the amendment, but it was derived from the provision of the provision related to testamentary disposition, and this led to the interpretation that the daughter's co-parcenary rights, being prospective, would not come into effect unless both father and daughter were alive on September 9, 2005. So if both father and daughter are alive on that date, then only daughter can be a co-parcener. So this is what the anomalous meaning taken out from the amendment on the basis of some other provision. This position was crystallized in a 2015 judgment of Supreme Court in Prakash and others versus Fulavati. So, how was this interpretation accepted by all? It was this interpretation was crystallized, was taken as final, acceptable by all without further questioning or argument or interpretation. When Supreme Court in 2015 decided to gave its verdict in a case which is referred over here, Prakash and others versus Fulavati. So, a verdict of Supreme Court itself was responsible for this anomaly in the background. This judgment now stands overruled. So, this judgment now gets overruled by the current judgment. The court's reasoning is unexceptionable. So, this is beyond exception. The current The court's reasoning is it is the current it is talking about the current verdict of the Supreme Court, which has removed the anomaly. It says that it is not going to have any exceptions now. What are the things? First, it locates the origin of co-parcenary right in one's birth. So, the as regards the right, co-parcenary right, it 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 originates with the birth of a person and not any other issue or any other event. Second, it finds that there is no necessity for a co-predecessor for a predecessor co-partner to be alive for one to acquire that status, as what is relevant is birth within the degrees of succession to which it extends. So it further virtually emphasizes the same thing. It says that uh, whether predecessor co-partner was alive or not has nothing to do with a right to birth, because right to succession, the degrees of succession is relevant to birth and not to any other event. In that sense, the legislation, even though it comes into effect on a prescribed date, is retroactive in its application as it is linked to birth and antecedent event. So, birth is an antecedent event. An event that occurred some time ago, antecedent, a past event, but gains importance. But gains importance. It says that this legislation is linked to birth, which is an antecedent event. So the effect should be retroactive. It also underscores. What is underscores? Emphasize. Underscore means emphasize. It also emphasizes that the legislation makes it clear that daughters' rights are the same as that, and if she had been a son at the time of birth. So the legislation, the Supreme Court says that the legislation should consider daughter's rights as that of a son and assume that she is not a daughter, rather she is a son by birth. As regards this issue is concerned, the co-partnership status given to daughters has been a subject of reform in many states, particularly in South India, long before the UPA regime brought in amendment for the whole country. So, this amendment, the status of daughters uh, related to co-partnership, the amendment related to this thing was attracting attracting attention in South India way ahead of the UPA regime. Kerala had introduced legislation in 1975, so these are examples. Andhra 86, Tamil Nadu 89, Maharashtra and Karnataka in 1994. These are examples from states in the south. The legislative aim was that a flagrant discrimination between sons and daughters is in entitlement to an equal share in co-partnership property, that is, property inherited from one's father, grandfather, or great grandfather, should be done away with. Now, this is a long sentence. We can cut it down. The legislative aim was that flagrant discrimination, let us put it down over here, So remove this one. We can read the rest of the sentence. The legislative aim was that a flagrant discrimination should be done away with. Okay, we should not include such discriminations. Discriminations refer to some advantage which is given to one and not given to another, and this discrimination here in this case is flagrant, is something that is on the face of it, and is a kind of malice, immoral. The discrimination between sons and daughters regarding entitlement to ancestral property should be done away with. Now, this discrimination should be done away with. It is indeed, this is an advice. This is a comment related to morality of the issue. It is indeed welcome that the apex court has sought to give full effect to this intent by setting at rest doubts arising from varying interpretations. Now, this verdict has settled the doubts related to earlier interpretations which created flagrant discrimination. So, the conclusion is in the form of an appreciation in this case. With this, I close today. Thank you. Thank you with a request to like and subscribe this channel. Thank you.